So we have a new feature, and it's called Visual Comparison. That's the name of the feature. And the objective of visual comparisons is to do automatic plugin updates. So even though we could call it automatic plugin updates, that doesn't sound nearly as awesome as the feature itself, which is the visual comparisons. So you probably have several questions about what does this mean, and what do I tell people, and what happens if someone has an issue or question? What are the answers? So let me share them with you. The first thing is, this is non-obligatory. So someone's going to say, wait, you're going to update my plugins automatically? What about me? What if I want to check? What if I want to look? Pause. You don't have to toggle the switch on. You can toggle the switch off. If you toggle it off, we won't do any updates. We won't visually compare anything, and you don't have to worry. So that's the first piece. Totally optional, totally up to you. The second piece is, okay, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to update my plugins? How is this working? Well, let me tell you. We create a duplicate copy of your site. It's on our servers. It's not publicly available to either you or the web. Google can't index it. We make a copy, and then we take snapshots of a whole bunch of different pages, your key pages of your website, and then we do the update then for a single plugin, and then we take pictures again and we compare them. And we have a set of libraries that are comparing, looking for any visual difference. That visual difference gets scored on a scale of 0 to 100%. If we even get 0.5% change, meaning if there's literally any change at all, we don't do the update, right? We go, and we'll notify you, and that's on purpose. We only want to update the plugins that have no visual comparison. But we update it on production, and then we go to the next one, and we do this over and over and over again. If we find any that have an issue, you will get an email. And that email will tell you, these are the ones we had, and it'll give you a link back to our visual comparisons feature inside the Managed portal, so you can look at each page and at each before and after and difference dynamic. So that's what we're doing, right? And people go, hey, how are you updating our plugins? How is this working? That's how it's working. The next logical question is, well, wait a minute, you're only checking for visual comparisons. What if it's breaking in some other way? That's a great question. We are currently, this version of the feature is only doing visual comparison. So if there is some really odd esoteric dynamic, but that happens, right? We won't be able to catch that, right? And if that is a big risk for you, if you have a lot of custom plugins doing a lot of custom things that are not visual but are essentially changing the way your engine runs, for example, we wouldn't catch that, and we wouldn't catch the collision. Now, those are very edge cases, but we do know they happen. And so if you want to just turn that off, then you go back to running it the way you've always run it, right? No problem. But the reason we did this way, right, as visual, is because this is what most people do. Most people, when we interviewed them and interact with them and watch them as they process updates, what they mostly did was hit update, and then they went and looked to see if it was different or not. And they looked in a couple pages, and we said, well, the very thing you're doing, what people are already doing, is something we can automate. That's why it's designed that way. In the long run, will we add further checks? Absolutely. We'll look at namespace collisions and lots of other technical low-level ways to check to see if there's some sort of collision. We can look at error logs and coordinate the error logs with the actual plugin updates to determine if there's been a collision there. But those are all secondary to this first iteration and the way the feature works. Now, you might wonder, what do I do if somehow you update a plugin, it doesn't have a visual diff, and my site still ends up having a problem, right? For example, one of the short codes doesn't work, and so somewhere on the middle of one of your pages, you're seeing gobbledygook instead of actual text, and we don't catch it. Here's the good news. We run backups every day, and so you can actually contact us and say, hey, you did an update to my plugin, and it looks like there's a problem. I'd like to roll back. I'd like to run to the earlier version of my site where I didn't have that plugin updated. Now, the good news is we're doing plugin updates once a day. So you don't have a situation where we're going to be updating plugins 6, 10, 15 different times during the day, which then means you don't really know when to do the backup. It's once a day. And so if you want to roll back to the backup before that, midnight timeline or whatever, you can roll back, right? You can contact us and do a rollback, and you'll be back to normal. No problems, right? We will, in the future, for this feature, we will give you an opportunity to tag a particular plugin as, please release this from the auto updates, right? Now, we don't want to do that right away, and there's a lot of research we want to do before we offer that, because we don't ever want you to be running outdated plugins, right? But we understand there may be a situation, an edge case where you may need to do that. So at some point we'll do that. But for you now, if there's some sort of issue, you can always roll back because we have backups all the time. Now, you may wonder, are there any settings, anything I have to do to control this? There's one setting, it's a toggle. And that toggle says, okay, turn it on or turn it off. That's all you have to do. You have no other configuration you have to worry about, right? Another question is, what if it's a change, but it's a fine change, right? I mean, like you're looking for the most nuance of change. Well, what if I like the change, right? What if the new sidebar plugin that I put in made it a little bit bigger or a little bit darker, or the title's a little bit taller, right? What if those things are good? Here's the thing. We can't tell that you would want that or not, right? There's no magical way we can determine for you that that's perfect. So what we do is we mark it as we did not update this because of the change, but we show you the before, the after, and the difference. And if you like the difference, there's a button there that you can push. And that button will update that plugin anyway. And we keep track of that so that over time we can start discovering what kinds of updates are still okay, even though there's a visual difference, and which ones aren't. But at this point, we want to be extremely conservative because we are very risk averse, and we want to make sure that you don't have any situations that you don't want to have, right? At this point, what we know is you want to have update plugins, we want you to have updated plugins, and we think this feature will deliver it for you. Thanks.